Good morning, Namaste, Sasrikal, Adab. This is Kadir from SR Public School, PGT English. I would like to tell you one of the most important thing that 30% of syllabus of your CBSE has been deleted. As I just got news about that, but even I'm just going to explain first chapter from Footprint Without Feet, a time of surgery, which was written by James Herriot. You must remember the name of author James Herriot. He's written. James Herriot is a veterinary doctor who has written so many stories, novels regarding animals as well as their master and mistress. So let's start the chapter. In this chapter, Tricky is a dog and Mrs. Pumphrey is a mistress, and Mr. Herriot is a veterinary doctor. He is a doctor of animals. Now let's start the chapter very well so that you can understand. In this chapter, Herriot is a dog. In this chapter, Tricky is a dog. It's a small dog. And he just Mrs. Pumphrey always just used to feed it so many fruits, food, and she has she has given so many facilities and comforts to that Tricky. And Tricky was being very pampered and just feeling very looseness and sitting and he was very lazy. He became so lazy. So Mrs. Pumphrey was very worried about the health of that Tricky. Once what happened? Mrs. Pumphrey was going for a walk on the mid. She met Mr. Herriot, who is a veterinary doctor. He has seen that Tricky before few months. It was okay, but after few months, when he saw Tricky, he was shocked. Tricky was become very fat. It was very fat. It became so fat. His jaw was also coming outside. His leg also was being very heavy, and there was so much fat which was got by the Tricky. That was got by the Tricky. So he becomes so lazy, and sometime he continues to lies on the floor. And Mrs. Pumphrey was the richest woman in that town, in that country where Tricky was living, as well as the Mrs. Pumphrey. So she was providing each and every comfort to Tricky, but even his health is going to just spoil again and again. So she was very conscious about its health. Once Mr. Herriot told to Mrs. Pumphrey, why don't you try to just send it to my hospital so that I can just treat it. And she just ignored and she denied. One night what happened, that Tricky fell ill, and it was vomiting, and his stomach was also coming out. So it was just feeling so much pain and suffocation there. Even she is providing everything to Tricky. Now I'm just going to tell you one of the wonderful thing in this chapter. Mr. Herriot was worried about Tricky's health. Mrs. Pumphrey called him and he just suggested her to send Tricky to my hospital. When Mrs. Pumphrey, because Mrs. Pumphrey was very fond of Tricky, she loves so much, and she doesn't wanted to leave to him. And Mr. Harriet came with his car, and Tricky was sitting inside of the car. And then after what happened, Mrs. Pumphrey was giving odious, the means of odious farewell to Tricky, and her servant, her maid, whatever she has given to Tricky for its comfort, she has sent to the car with its servant, and everything she was providing, like cones, bed sheet and bed cushions, and so many biscuits, and so many comforts she was providing to Tricky. Even Tricky got ill. So the comfort she was providing to Tricky, she has sent to the car, and that all that comforts thing, that was not fixing in the car, because it was so many things, as I have just counted: cushions, bed sheets, corn, biscuits, and bed also, and some toys also for Tricky. When Tricky has gone to the hospital, and for 1 in 2 days it doesn't come out from its room, and when it saw so many dogs are wandering here and there, they are also in the cages also, and they are barking to each other. So it realized that he got a company. Mr. Harriet knew that if I will give him such a company, which will definitely help him to come out such type of stress and laziness. So the doggy, that's name is Tricky. It was it was means I would say that it was being very curious to play with them, and day by day he is being very greedy. So there was one of the plate. In that plate, some grains were there, and biscuits, and sometime bread. So all the dogs runs for their food, and sometime it licks, and sometime it barks. So all the laziness which was got by Tricky. Tricky lost all that laziness, stress, and it became very means comfortable, as well as very active. Once what happened? Mrs. Pumphrey missed so much Tricky, and suddenly she went to Mr. Harriet. Having seen Pumphrey, Tricky started running and just started licking its leg, and it was trying to show its love toward its mistress. And mistress told Mr. Harriet, "Thank you that you made this dog such able, and he is so active, and he is so healthy now." Because Mr. Harriet knew that it was being very lazy, and laziness should be just come out. So that's why he tried himself to overcome from its laziness as well as stress. That was the reason, and the doggy became very active, as well as very comfort, and became very happy. And Mrs. Pumphrey has taken that Tricky to its home, and that was the story here. We have known that this story is telling the bound of love between the mistress as well as the Tricky. And second thing I would say, this is the love of human as well as the animals. So we sometimes understand the sentiment of the animals, so that we can easily get all that we can easily get all that information. We can get all that our emotions when we will just try to know about the animals, because we don't know, we are just trying to feed them again and again, whether they don't want, whether we are not just carrying to them to the field for walking. They need exercise, they need their friend circle, they need one such an atmosphere. So that was not being provided by Mrs. Pomfrey. Mrs. Pomfrey was trying to just keep him in a room, and it was really tired to just live in a room. So he wanted such an atmosphere, and Mrs. Pomfrey understood, now I will provide such an atmosphere. This comfort doesn't need. We need company. Company makes you feel very happy when you are having such a company. And if you are alone, then so much negativity comes to you. If you are with your friends, with your company, then negativity will never come to you. So that is the topic I've just told you. I hope so that you are understanding. If you haven't understand, please you can contact to me. I will just explain you everything. Thank you so much.